Welcome, Eric, to the interview. Why
Hello.
don't you introduce yourself first? Tell me your name, your tag, and where you're from.
I am Eric. My tag is Pop Magoot, and I am from originally San Diego, California.
Sunny San Diego.
That's
Are
right.
you a student? And if so, what's your year and major?
I am a student. I'm sadly a graduating senior, and kind of like everyone else, I am a computer science major.
Not
Everyone
not
else in the
everyone.
club, at least. There's a whole lot of them, though.
Yeah,
Yo, camera.
it'll fix itself. Okay. Let's start with like your fighting game history. I know you've been playing fighting games for like a really long time, so walk me through
Ah.
when you started and what you started with.
Okay. I believe maybe I should fact check this, but the year Street Fighter V came out, was that
I
2016?
think so.
Yeah, 2016. So I remember it came out early in the year. And so I started playing with Street Fighter 4 late in 2015 because I was like, I can't be a 16er, bro. I gotta at least be a 15er. 16 is just too bad. So
So you started in Ultra.
I started with Ultra, yeah, a little before Street Fighter 5 came out. I was playing with some friends who kind of knew how to play fighting games a little bit, at least like how to do the inputs and stuff. So we were able to be like kind of bad, but they could get me to a level where we could play. At least, I knew the moves and stuff like that. And after that, we just, kept playing.
Before
So,
that, you had a history with Smash.
yeah, that's true. I guess if we're really going far back, I used to play Mortal Kombat on the Xbox, Mortal Kombat 9, when I was like 10 or
Yeah.
something. And I knew my BNBs. I was like I'm sure I was abysmal at like neutral and like any like actually playing the game, but I could do my combos and stuff like that. So that was at least something, exposure to inputs and stuff like that. And then I played Smash for a
Hmm.
while. Like while I was probably 11, I got started playing like Melee and Project M. Played until I was like 13 or 14 or something, and then just mostly switched to fighting games after that.
And yeah, there's videos
Simply.
on your channel of like little you going to
Yeah,
tournaments.
there's videos on my channel. There's a lot of tournament sets. Some of them are pretty funny. So there's a lot of treasured memories from that era, I
Would
suppose.
you say
But
you were like competitively minded from the get-go, or you're casual first?
yeah, I mean, I wanted to win. At least when I played in like tournaments and stuff, I'm obviously just happy just playing versus people, but ultimately when there was a competition, yeah, I did want to win. Like I was taking some locals as like a 13-year-old or whatever
Dang,
because I
okay.
was like, you got to do it to them,
Yeah, so you
you
learned
know.
about like all the mechanics and stuff. You weren't just mashing buttons.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like I remember at least for Melee, I saw like you probably know the one, the Axe versus Silent Wolf on like Fountain of Dreams, like the super fast
Yeah,
four
yeah, I've seen
stock.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw like an IGN video. It was like the hypest Pikachu match ever in Melee, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll click that. And I saw, got exposure to the competitive scene, and I was like, this is cool. I learned how to wave dash and stuff, and got Dolphin, and
Yeah, so
well,
you
that's
you
history.
came from like Xbox and Nintendo games, and now you're on traditional fighting games. How'd you go from that to playing like Hitbox?
Playing hitbox.
Yeah,
Well, I got a stick decently like at the start. I think back then it was more kind of the thought that if you're playing fighting games, like you have to be using a
yeah,
stick. And so I played Street Fighter 5 and got the, bulky like Mad Catz TE2 with the
damn,
Ryu on the front.
that's cool.
And that was like my first stick. And then I learned more about the hitbox stuff. I was like, this just seems better. I don't know. Like no, not that many people were doing it back in the day. Like of course people were. Now it's like, the meta or whatever, but I was like, this is pretty cool. So, I was thinking about it for a while. Some guy on Reddit was like, I'm offering my hitbox up like $70 or something. And I was like, okay, I'll take this hitbox $70. You'll ship it to me. Great.
When was
So,
this?
um,
Like 2018, something. 2019.
I think yeah, probably like 2018, maybe 2017, something like that.
Is that
So,
still the one you use with the wires out in the back, the jury one?
yeah, I mean, it's practically like a ship of Theseus at this point. Like, I've replaced everything except for the outer shell in the art. So it's like, is it the same stick? Kind of. It's still the same shell. I've still like lost some of the screws and they're still lost. So, yeah,
Yeah, that thing's a relic now. Like people
it's a
see it and
relic.
think you're like a Street Fighter or a jury player. You have to explain to them every time.
Yeah, but it's nice though. It just does what it needs to. It's like the perfect size, like fit to backpack.
Mhm.
So honestly, I like it. Before I graduate, I am gonna try to have my friend make me like a back plate in like Jacobs or something
Mhm.
like that. So, it won't be too scuffed for too long, hopefully. But honestly, I don't mind.
I kind of like the wired look.
It gives it
Gives
some
the
character.
DIY
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, it is DIY. I did the soldering, in Berkeley, at Berkeley, in one of the rooms. So.
All right, so you started with Street Fighter 4. You went on to play Street Fighter 5. I know you played Canon in that. And
Yeah.
then what made you go from that to other fighting games? What other fighting games did you play?
Um, I think one of the first ones after Street Fighter 5 was Xrd, but Street Fighter 5 was what really got me into fighting games, I think. Like I put 700 hours or something, and the only thing before that was Little Street Fighter 4. But then Xrd, I more shifted to that probably around 2017, 2018, just because
How'd you
after
hear
just
about Exert? I thought it was kind of, I don't know, not as popular as Street Fighter back then.
I mean, at least when you are involved with the fighting game scene, at least a little bit, you kind of hear about stuff like that. And just some of my friends, just like the same ones I was playing with before, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I think we just thought it kind of looked cool, and then we're like, let's play it, and then we did, just kept playing. Kind of how it went. I just had a couple training partners or whatever, and just really played against them for most of my early fighting game years.
And when did Marvel 3 happen? Because I know you're big on that.
Yeah, Marvel 3, that was God, I remember one of the same friends had a digital copy of Marvel 3 on his Xbox, which was kind of a big deal because you couldn't download it after a certain point. Like Capcom removed it from all the stores and stuff.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You can only buy physical?
Well, they took it off the shelves or whatever, not that long after it came out. So it wasn't on Xbox, it wasn't on PS4 for a while. It's one of my friend, I think, let me sign into his account so I could download it digitally on mine and then be able to play it. And so that was probably around I don't know, maybe a little later than Xrd, 2017, 2018. But I was just messing around, not knowing what the hell I was doing. But I just played in training mode for a while. I mean, online sucked, and it still does.
That was
so.
Much past the peak of Marvel 3 anyway. It was already out of Evo main stage.
So yeah, I just kind of played a little bit, and then when it came on PS4, I played a lot more. So I think that was around 2017. I actually bought a PS4 just to play Marvel 3.
Wow.
Because I was it's releasing on there before PC, so I was sounds good. And then PC, I played a ton more. I played with those people that I was playing with before, and just a bunch of people online, stuff like that. So, just the fighting games, they come and go. You just hear about them, they look fun. You play them for a while, now you're a player for that game.
So what were you mainly playing in the pandemic era, 2021, 2020?
Oh. A lot of Strive, I think. At least when it came out, I was really into Strive. And that was actually the game I've had the most tournament success in, still so far. Strive when it first came out, just because I think a good part of it was I had played so much Xrd, and then when Strive came out, I didn't have that much to do, so I was just playing that game a lot. But it was fun, those early years, or early times in Strive. I think eventually got kind of bored of it, but after you play one fighting game for a while, I think it's kind of just bound to happen, but...
How'd you end up finding the Berkeley Club? Because that was around the same time.
Yes,
that's my story.
That's Reagan over here. Yeah, he's been chilling on the side. Basically, Reagan one day came in to fix my internet because he was working on the IT department, and I was having a bunch of trouble. Couldn't use Ethernet. Couldn't really play games, and the Wi-Fi sucked. And so he was there's no solution. And I was great. But he saw my Steam. And he was oh, you play Strive? And so you would think the story goes that I joined the club because Reagan's oh, you should come to the club. But I say, yeah, I play Strive. He said, who do you play? I said, May. And he saw my hours. He saw 200 hours or whatever, a couple months after the game came out or something. He was oh, that's cool. And then that was it for a while. But then they were tabling. And so I saw them and I was I gotta stop at the fighting game table. Gotta go see what that's all about. And then,
And you're that's the guy who fixed my internet.
Well, Reagan said that.
I can give more context too.
Yeah, what's the context?
Come to the mic.
So I didn't fix the internet. Let's be clear. And then after that, so that was the first semester of my sophomore year. So this is fall 2021.
Oh, you can't. It's not on.
Yeah, fall 2021. First semester, we're all back in from COVID. It's half hybrid, half in person. and I was working IT. Um, that was also the first semester, like, the fighting game club was meeting in person in Latimer.
Yeah.
This was in the tables, or, like, in the shitty classrooms. After that semester, I became an officer. And one of the things I said as an officer that we had to do was table a lot. Because, the club actually had a decent amount of people come. Kyle, you remember? Like,
Yeah,
you probably came, like, we just get, like, 8 people. But we wanted more, of course, and we're like, with Strive's release, like a bunch of people play it that are new too, so they probably just don't know about the club. And when you search the club online, like you don't get anything. You actually get Reddit posts that Chung made, that Chung made, and like we were responding to it. So we're like, okay, we gotta get people. We're in a table, and I cited Eric as the reason. Like, there's this guy who I fixed the internet for. He
Really?
plays Strive, but he doesn't know about the club. We should table so we get people like him. And so
funny.
Eric was the inspiration and also one of the first people we had while tabling because we were doing the donut challenge.
Yeah, I remember. So if it wasn't for your tabling idea, it wouldn't have found the hidden boss of Berkeley.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying the tabling idea was mine, but Eric was one of the reasons we were tabling. And you can ask Sherwin, Chung, they'll know that Eric was one of the the inspirations for why we need to table.
Worked out.
Yeah.
It did work out.
And the tabling story is pretty funny too, because that was one of the first times we were doing the donut challenge thing. I pretty much just bought donuts and if you won against one of us. So it was kind of scummy, right? We later changed it to be you play your friend, but this time we had legit donuts, like $4 donuts from Kingpin, overpriced. And you had to fight Chung because we wanted to win. I think we had Sherwin play afterwards if if it was too obviously a stomp, but they had to play Chung. And Eric comes by, and the first thing he asks is, "Do you have a hitbox?" And that's when me and Sherwin knew, okay, I think Chung might have a little bit of a challenge here. And Eric stomped even with Sherwin's shitty mini stick.
I remember I did a wake up reversal, wake up super, and they were like, "Oh my god!" It was a lot of fun. But
Eric, I think, got the donut.
I did get the donut, and I knew, after that I had to come back to the club. I mean, even if I didn't win to get the donut, I knew I had to come back because, it's hard to pass up a local fighting game scene.
It's true. It's a good story. I guess since then we've really learned about how good you actually are.
Well, thank you.
I think you've gone on record to say that there isn't really anyone at the club who can challenge you. You still stand by that?
Well, people are getting better. Tony, he's been stepping up his game. Reagan in this third strike, his deadly's looking pretty strong. But I don't know.
You have to be nice. You have to just be honest.
I've played for a lot longer than everyone else, I think. And that's a big part of it. It's just I have a whole wide experience in a lot of fighting games. That makes it kind of easier to learn the next. So I think.
Do you wish you had more competition, or do you like it this way?
I mean, it's not that I like it this way. I'm just happy to be playing people,
Damn.
Kyle, ask about the Street Fighter 6 tournament.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
You had to be there.
It was so funny. Do you think you played better because I said it was going to be free?
I didn't even know you said that. And then when Reagan came up to me and was like, yeah, Eric wasn't even going to enter because he thought it'd be too easy. I thought he was joking. I was like, oh, Eric's a nice, humble guy. He'd never say that.
I did say that. Maybe I wasn't being fully serious, but I was at least being a little serious.
Well,
I could admit
it's
that.
Every tournament, you're like, I kind of want to let other people win.
Yeah, afterwards, I understood what you meant now. He wasn't saying it out of,
no,
ego.
hold on. This one time, Eric legitimately said verbatim, "It's too free if I enter." Okay, this time was with some hostility. Okay.
With some hostility.
I didn't see it. I never
He did say it. I remember this.
I did say it. Yeah, I'll say it. But yeah, I mean, Kyle, you were a whole different beast that day, man. It was crazy. You pulled out all the stops you needed to, and it was good. It was well played. I'll have to go watch back that VOD.
There is no VOD.
Yeah,
There's no
VOD. Because I didn't want to stream it, so I just
achieved
played
mythical
on
status.
PC.
Damn.
You had to be there.
But
Evo moment 39, bro.
that was a funny day. Everybody's got to eat a little, humble pie or whatever every once in a while. So, that brought me back.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I think any time afterwards that you wouldn't play a tournament, you would always come from the angle of I just want to commentate, I just want to TO,
Yeah, and I think I have played in.
very, I don't know, community focused and not your own ego.
Yeah, hope so. But
Anyways, moving on. Do you have a favorite fighting game, and who's your favorite character in that game?
favorite fighting game? That's a tough one. There's a lot of characters I like, even if they aren't necessarily in my favorite fighting game. Like one that comes to mind is like Karen from Street Fighter V. I thought she was so fun, even though I find maybe other fighting games more fun. But as for my favorite fighting game, it's probably got to be either Marvel 3 or Xrd, but I'm leaning Marvel 3. And I gotta say, Marvel 3, my favorite character is Virgil. Because that boy is like so overpowered, but he deserves it. Like, you kind of live the power fantasy perfect. It's like you're teleporting behind people and doing the most like devious mix up. You like, put just on like install OP mode for like 30 seconds. And it's just like, you're just kind of like, I don't know, it just gives you the power fantasy well of like, being like a demon slayer or whatever. It's like pretty cool. Like I like characters like that where it feels like you're like, what they were trying to make the character be, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is a lot of fun.
I
Yeah.
didn't think you'd be the type to lean into the lore, I guess. Like
Well,
the fantasy.
I mean, it also, yeah, he also is just like OP. That makes it fun.
Yeah, that helps. I mean, Karen stopped here too.
Yeah, Karen always has been good, and that's, she's pretty cool.
How do you pick your mains? I know you've said to me that you just pick character with like good movement and big buttons.
That's like pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, how do I pick my character? Most of the time, I'll just like read through a lot of them, and then yeah, just like pick one where it's like, their oppressive buttons mean they can dominate neutral or something
Yeah,
like that. And I'm like, wow, this character is so fun. It's like characters with those big swords, disjointed disjointed hitbox, and like still, nice movement. I'm probably playing them, but it also helps if they do damage. I like characters that do damage.
Are there any characters or archetypes that you hate playing against? Like, remember Justin Wong told us he hates grapplers?
Yeah, maybe grapplers is like my least favorite because I feel like in a lot of ways it's like you're playing a different game almost, but I don't hate it. Like, it's fine enough playing against a grappler. It's just like if you're playing against a grappler for too long, it's like you're like, okay, let me switch it up a little bit. The same way if you like play against like, I don't know, someone like Dalsim for a while. It's like it's fun. It's just you're playing a different game, which is like fine at a certain point, but sometimes you want to play versus another character. So, no one I hate, but I guess any like weirdo character maybe gets old after a while. Grapplers included. Maybe throw zoners in there too.
Do you have
Who
a
knows?
favorite player to watch?
I love Tokido. I feel like he's just such a beast at everything he plays. And he like adds his own style of just like being a beast. That's like, I don't know. I know it's like Daigo's whole thing, but like Tokido, he's got the murder face. Like I feel like he just really like does what he needs to do. I really like him. I feel like Nemo is a certain way, but he's also got like kind of a weird factor going on.
Never plays
It's like
funny.
he plays goofy picks like Relento and Street Fighter 4 and stuff like that. It's like I really like those two. Tokido just like for the absolute like domination. Sad he didn't play Akuma still in Street Fighter 6, but that's okay.
Yeah, Buffakuma.
True. And yeah, Nemo for a similar thing. And also they seem like nice guys.
Yeah, Takedo's like, he's got the personality outside the game too.
Yeah.
He's kind of like an ambassador for fighting games.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So
cool.
I really like those two.
Is there any fighting game you wish was more popular?
Probably Marvel 3. Just because maybe it doesn't even need to be more popular, but if it had just like decent workable netcode,
Netcode?
yeah, instead of like what it has now. Like yeah, it's just kind of annoying. If it was more popular, maybe there'd be like more local and stuff like that. But honestly, I'm happy with the amount I play it. Like I go to something like Frosty's and I play it there. I'm like, okay, let me get my Marvel fix, especially offline, and then it's not too bad. But yeah, I really like Marvel 3. If more people played it, I probably would play it more. So
This
Gotta
reminds
go
me.
with that.
Speaking of Marvel and good netcode, I've heard the story, but for posterity's sake, can you tell the story about the Maximilian dude with Marvel Infinite?
Yeah. So right when Marvel Infinite came out, I was super invested in the game. Like I loved Marvel 3, so I was like, dude, Marvel Infinite looks so dope. You know, like when Justin Wong or whatever and like Filipino Champ were like, yo, this game is like so dope. I was like, yes, I believe it. And so before the game came out, I like had my mom drive me to like Orange County or something, and we got like a copy of the game early from this like mom and pop shop. And so I was pretty nice. You know, I was getting my labbing time in before the game came out. And then the game came out, and then like day 2 or like day 1, I had gotten I think it was like a 26 win streak in ranked. Um I was like chilling at the top. In fact, the pinned tweet on my profile on Twitter is still me being number 1 on the MDCI leaderboards. Still to this day, never replaced it. But anyways, I had played that game, had a little bit of an advantage before it came out, and so I ran against I played against Maximilian on my 26 win streak, and I am like doing okay, but I'm getting kind of washed like a little bit, you know. And he's about to kill me, like he has me in the game-winning combo, and my shit disconnects, like straight up crash, no hope for me to come back, and of course. It looks like I rage quit because I'm on a 26 win streak. I did actually, you know, I kept my streak afterwards, right? You know, but I promise it was legit. But like, still, you know, of course, to Max and Max's stream, it's like he had
Oh,
some
this
reaction
guy,
where he was
yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, that's how you get your wins. That makes sense," or something like that. And I'm like, "Damn, Maximilian, it wasn't me." The clip, unfortunately, has been lost to time, but you still can see on my Steam account, like on my profile, from around like whenever it came out, I think like 2018 or 2019, something like that. Like there's people that are like, yo, why did you rage quit on Maximilian, dude? You suck. And there's not just Steam, like that's the only public place. I was getting like Reddit messages
Damn.
and like people were just coming after me and I was like, dude, I didn't even rage quit. Some people said sorry after I told them I didn't rage quit and I was like, thanks, but you know, coming after my profile and stuff wasn't even me, bro. So, you know, I'm sorry, Maximilian, dude. Maybe if you see this somehow, I didn't rage quit. I promise. I promise.
I mean, hitting number 1 is pretty impressive. I feel like that's indicative of your actual skill.
This was also. This might have been before the game came out, actually.
There were leaderboards before the game came out.
Yeah, I think I remember the day the game came out, actually. I might be able just to check. Like, I think the game came out December or September 19th. I could be wrong about that, but this post, yes, from September 17th. So I think this was before the game came out. So I was just kidding when I was like, "Yo, look at me, I'm number 1." But you know, it was funny.
What
A limited
your,
player
Your
base.
proudest actual achievement as a player?
My proudest actual achievement, I think, is outplacing Hotashi at one Strive event. Because I played against the top 3 of the tournament was Punk, and then me, and then Hotashi.
Oh,
And-
it's an online tournament. I think I
yeah,
saw
it was the
this.
online
Yeah.
tournament. I beat Punk in winners. When he was going Milia,
Wow.
like his secondary character. His
Yeah.
soul was much better. So, you know, he played Milia, I beat him. And then he played Milia for like one game in the second set, and I beat him in that one. And then he switched to Soul, and I lost like really bad all those after. But he played Soul against Hotashi. So in losers finals, they were playing, and you know, I'm sitting there chilling, winner side of grands, and it was just funny. Like you know, my proudest fighting game achievement is that top 8 picture where I'm like chilling in second place in between Punk and Hotashi. Even though maybe it wasn't fully deserved because I didn't really take out Punk, you know, because he's playing Milia, but that was probably my
I
favorite.
mean, I feel like Punk on a secondary is still better than 99% players in mains.
So that was probably my best. Otherwise, going back to Smash, I beat this really good Lucario player kind of as he was stopping playing. I Punch Kids. You wouldn't you probably don't recognize the name, but he was really good. Streams Mario Maker and stuff nowadays, but that was like as he was kind of stopping playing less, but still it was hype at the time.
Like a SoCal local or something?
Yeah, at a SoCal local. Everyone was watching the set, and you can hear like people going crazy when it happened, and that was a lot of fun. I think that was the only time I've actually cried at like a win or something
Wow.
like that. Yeah, back in the day. So
How
either
old
one
were
of
you?
those. I was probably like 13.
Wow.
I think I had to have been.
Then that moment like sealed fighting games for you.
Pretty
You're
much,
never
I was
gonna
like,
forget.
damn, I'm playing this. I'm gonna be playing these for a while. Even if, I've mostly moved on from Smash. That's probably only because there just isn't that much Smash. There's only like one or two games of Smash I really play that much. A lot more fighting games to enjoy, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right. To wrap this interview up, last question. So you said you're graduating. What are you going to be doing after you graduate? Are you moving somewhere? Do you have a job like
Yeah, so I'm living with Anthony, who you just interviewed, in Sunnyvale. Like, we both have our jobs down there. I'll be working at Google, which I'm very happy about. So yeah, we'll be chilling. I'm excited to go to the San Jose locals and stuff like that, like Guild House.
Yeah, they have like
And
Magitech, Youth, they have like all these ones.
and Marvel 3 is actually like kind of alive in South Bay, which is cool.
wow.
Like they
Yeah.
have like offline events and stuff like that that this one guy hosts. So I'll be going to that.
Mhm.
Keeping up with the fighting games, but I'll still try to make it up here when I can. With
Nice.
Anthony, he's
Glad to hear it.
he's here pretty often. I'll convince him to make the trek on Fridays.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as you guys are in the Bay Area, it's not too far of a drive away.
Yeah, that's true. Especially like, at these hours, I feel like the roads aren't like that, bad. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Eric, for the
Yeah.
interview.
Thank you for interviewing me.